Hey everybody, and welcome to my new podcast. I'm Stephen Fahey. Those of you who watch Mental Health TV, this is a new LinkedIn entrepreneurship podcast. And the idea is simple, is to help you if you want to start a business or you're an entrepreneur. I'm going to be interviewing many people on LinkedIn to celebrate entrepreneurship. My first guest today is Tim. And Tim has a marketing agency. I'll introduce Tim in a moment. But this podcast I think is really special because there's nothing better than starting your own business. It's a real hard struggle. I'm still in startup phase, but I'm enjoying the ride. So Tim, why don't you introduce yourself, a little bit about your business, what you do, and then we'll go into the 3 short questions we've got that will hopefully help our audience.
Of course. So hello audience. My name is Tim Cobb. And I started off with a couple of ambitions in life. The first one was to work in Fleet Street as a journalist. And I managed to do that with the Press Association, which is now branded as PA News. And then in 1995, I realized my second ambition, which was to work for myself. And I did it on the basis of very little knowledge about the world of public relations, apart from the fact that they used PR people who were always hounding me on the news desk. And I thought, I'm sure I can do that. So I gave up my 4 a.m. rise and shine to be on a 5 a.m. train to London every day and set up on my own. And set up Cobb PR nearly 1995. We're not quite celebrating our 30th, but we've seen our 25th anniversary come and go. And sadly, it was in the middle of COVID, so we couldn't really do much to celebrate. But there we go. And yes, I've been running a PR firm since 1995, and we've got some fantastic clients, predominantly in the southeast, a couple in London, but mainly down in East and West Sussex. That's where we hang out.
Great, fantastic. I mean, I said to you before I pressed the record button, I did a bit of research. I know you've got a background in journalism, which inspires me because I've got a news brand and I'm still learning stuff. But you've got quite a good digital spread because you're a PR agency. You've got an office in Brighton and you're in Eastbourne as well. I think the first question is to help our audience is, I mean, maybe for you it's going back some years, but I know business changed so fast, especially in the digital world, the PR world, it all changes so much. What mindset or tip would you recommend for starting a business and maybe trying to overcome your first challenge? Because there's lots of people, we're in the 3rd year now of the pandemic. And I know that entrepreneurship is a kind of buzzing. People want to start a business. Many people in America have quit their jobs. I don't know if you've heard of the term Great Resignation, but there's lots of people out there scratching their heads about their business model. What mindset would you recommend?
So before you press the button on your new life as an entrepreneur running your own business, I think it's really important to talk to as many people as possible about it. People perhaps who've done the same thing, people who haven't, friends, chat to people that you have respect for and time for. And you'll probably be surprised at the variation of answers and observations that you get, but it's all very helpful. I remember the first bit of advice I had very early on, before I even started, I decided that I would get an accountant ready, prepped to help me, because I'm as an ex-journalist, I'm very good with a pencil and a bit of paper, but give me any figures, Stephen, and I'm completely lost. So I spoke to the accountant, and he said, if I was you, don't give up your day job. It's much safer living. So I ignored him from the start and pressed ahead, and I'm very pleased I did. I think you need the mentality that you've really got to be 100% sure that this is the one for you. and you then just got to throw everything at it. But you need to do your research in advance. Is there actually a market for what you want to do? Be it making a product, be it delivering a service. So is there a place in that market for you? Because, you know, it's a crowded place. That's not to put people off at all, because I think there's always room for people with a new idea or a fresh pair of eyes on something that already exists. But just make sure that there's a market there, because you'll regret not having explored it further if after 2 months you're still waiting for your first paycheck to come in, and you've got bills to pay, and you've got food to buy, and possibly, if you're like me, you've got a family to support. So do all your research while ideally you're already in a job. And if you're out of work, well, perhaps that's the choice then has been made for you. Maybe you have no options but to pursue that. And in some ways, maybe you're in a positive position there, because if the options are limited, go for it. You have very little to lose, assuming that you don't have massive expenditure on infrastructure for your business. And as I said earlier, Stephen, my main costs were pencil, notepad, and when I started, emails weren't really a thing.
Wow.
You know, so that's how times have changed.
I love that startup cost. I wish it was like that now. Just literally go to a bookshop, pen and paper. But I think that's really important, and a lot of especially the younger generation coming through don't really appreciate, like you say, the basics of, like, speak to friends and family first, look at your business model, see if there's a market for it, go and do some research before going out to the bank and taking out a £10,000-20,000 loan and trying to battle through just to get some sales and revenue to pay back the loan. It's so important. And I love that. And I think that a lot of business startups and entrepreneurship, we have to go back to basics as well. And I live in a digital world. I've got an online presence. But I think it is important, like you say, is to think about, is there a market for this? Speak to friends and family. I know in my business venture, having been a former business studies teacher, I thought I had it all up here after teaching my students for years and years. Completely different in the real world, and I've learned so much, and I'm enjoying the journey. But you got to keep at it, like you say. Sometimes your situation is okay, right? Are you in a place to give up your full-time job? What's your finances? Like you say, sometimes you get thrown in the deep end. You haven't got a job. You can push ahead. I'm sorry to jump in, Stephen, but I do remember. Please.
When I decided I was going to give up my day job, and being in London, I was a news editor, so I was on a decent salary. We gave it up. Couldn't have been a worse time, because we had a family just starting. We just moved house, and therefore a massive increase in the mortgage. And I'd just given up my job. And I said to my wife, Sue, as we moved in, I said, don't unpack anything, because I'm not convinced we're going to be able to afford this house in a month or so's time. So, you know, thankfully, that proved not to be the case. And things went well. But you've got to be realistic about it. You know, most business ventures fail, sadly.
I think the data shows it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
the statistics used to be, and I've not visited them for a while, but I think 75% of startups didn't survive after the third year. And and I don't think that should put people off necessarily, but it just reminds you to do your homework, because while you're either unemployed or being paid by somebody else in another job, that is the perfect time to do your homework and do your research, because it's going to be too late once you've started this venture for you to think, oh, do you know what, I wish I'd investigated that, I wish I'd thought about that. You know, if you get to that stage, something's gone wrong in your preparations. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on the preparation side. That's really important because you kind of working backwards. If you've already started and you haven't done, I mean, I'm a big fan of SWOT analysis. When I was a teacher, I used to constantly, I still use them today, even my own business. Um, do your homework, really important. I know also you've, with your PR agency, and you've got quite a good spread, a lot of experience, because obviously the PR world has probably changed a lot since when you first started. But there, what I can see now, even in Eastbourne and globally as well, so many marketing agencies are popping up. Probably too fast, like you say, because they haven't done their homework. But what advice would you give to a marketing agency that's starting out? Because obviously marketing is a big area, and I know that you go into your PR side, but was any basic advice that you would give to a marketing agency now, apart from do your homework, like anything specific to that sort of channel?
I think what will happen in the first few months, you will get an invitation to pitch, or through a friend of a friend, you'll get some work. Fantastic, happy days, great start. As business starts to come in, be choosy about the work that you take on. The temptation, Stephen, is always to go, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And then that leads to huge stress and pressure on you. If you've perhaps bitten off a little bit more than you can do, areas where really you're just a bit outside your comfort zone, because you'll get found out. It'll become apparent sooner or later that, that's not quite the right bit of business for you. So although it's difficult when you start out, because really you're just chasing the money, just have a good think about whether it's something that you can do to the best of your abilities and deliver a great job. As a company, we have our little mantra, which is that we always under-promise and over-deliver. We want our client to be really happy with what they get from us, because our reputation is as good as the last comment from somebody in the business community. If you muck up, if you do a bad job, boy, does that spread quickly.
Yeah, sure. People do, especially now.
Do a good job and not enough people talk about it. Do something wrong and everyone knows about it. And it's difficult. It's difficult to rebuild your reputation from there.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think I've drummed it into my head. I've just got my first client. I'm a startup myself, even though I've got a global presence. But my business model took me ages to develop. And my first client, I'm throwing in some freebies and making sure that I'm over delivering, because I'm testing the business model. But like you say, I want more clients, and he's got a large network that can serve me well, but I've got to serve my client first. I can't just be thinking, right, I'm going to do this and this for you, and then start hitting out other clients and go, I can do get these kind of views for you. I have to hone in on my first client and make sure that I over deliver, like you say, and then try to get those referrals coming through.
And I think you need to make sure that you can tell a potential client why he or she should use you, because you're a startup, you have no real CV to go with your business. Why on earth should I use you? And I think the answers that come to mind are probably, I'm going to be a damn sight cheaper than that big agency over there who got to pay salaries, office rent, equipment, and all the other associated costs that go with that. I'm on my own at the moment. I've got big plans, but at the moment I'm on my own. I'm working from home. I'm working in a very small office. My overheads are virtually none. That will be reflected on the price that I charge you. And then I think you'll get their attention, because let's face it, money talks. And if I can get something a bit cheaper than somewhere else, I'm going to be going, well, okay, that's interesting. Tell me more. And the other thing that you have as an advantage as a startup is you've got that real enthusiasm that need to deliver and that desire to go the extra mile. And if you have 1, 2, 3 small clients of your own, you've got so much time to look after them. Over service them and make sure they know that you're over servicing them. You're giving them something for nothing. Because you've got the time to do that, probably, because you're not going to be fully engaged at the moment from the startup. And if you are, wow, tell me how that works, because I'd be very jealous. Over service while you've got the time. Make sure the client knows that you're giving them more time than they're paying for. Make them deliriously happy. And then all you need to do is ask them to tell one of their other business friends about how good you are. And would they be prepared to come and give you a chance? And then hopefully it will start to grow from there, and your reputation will start to grow.
That's it. I mean, I'm with you on this. I'm doing it right now with my first client. I'm actually saying, look, let's test this. Look, you can have that for free because I'm making that generous offer. It's not, I'm putting time and investment into it. Like you say, I don't have a lot of overheads. I have the time. I don't have a huge marketing budget, but I have time. So I'm putting that time in my first client to make sure that I'm over delivering, and he will pass that on. The reputation, like you say, will expand and get more clients. And I think that maybe the media, or maybe it's the perception is out there that there is a lot of entitlement at the moment, sadly, with entrepreneurs, that you can just literally do 1 thing, 2 things on social media and you've got a business up and running, 100 clients. It don't work that way. I wish it did. Like you say, come and tell me if that's how it works. Show me your source, I'll copy it. My last question, and I've been researching this, and this is more to do with UK businesses, which is obviously us. I think funding has been quite difficult in recent years for entrepreneurs, particularly in the UK. In America, for example, it's very easy to get what you call seed funding very quickly and a high. So you can get like a million or 2 million very quickly, investors. I don't always agree with that as a business model, depending what you're putting on the table. But in terms of raising finance in the UK, do you think it's getting easier or harder for startups? Because, for me, from my perspective, there wasn't really many options. There was only loan companies and banks, and your credit's got to be pretty damn good to get like anything between £3,000 and £5,000, which is a sizable amount for a startup. But I don't know if you've got what your opinion is on the matter. Is getting finance easier or harder in the UK?
My thoughts are that banks love to lend you money if they know you've got lots of money. If you haven't got much money, then banks don't always want to know you. They don't want your business. The number of offers of bank loans of 15,000, 20,000, 25,000, help to buy a new car. I get emails probably at least every week from someone offering me money, and I'm pleased to say I don't need their money. But when you ain't got any money, that's when the banks are going to go, well, I'm not sure, we need you to put half in and then we'll think about it. The good thing is that there are organizations out there who are set up to help entrepreneurs, to help them take the first step. East Sussex County Council has that offer. We have something called I was going to say it's not located. There are various organisations around. Let's Do Business. That's what I was thinking of. They're based in Hastings, but they have mentors. They have people who sometimes free of charge, because they're paid by the county council, who will sit down with you and give you advice, give you guidance, and help you go through these things, including funding and where to approach. Who's got a good track record of supporting startups? There are these people called business angels, and I'm sure most people, thanks to Dragon's Den and things like that, but there are business angels around who are looking for the next big thing. They're looking to invest. Now, you would have to jump through lots of hoops to get your hands on their money, just like the Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
But they are out there, and they are looking for opportunities. And there's nothing to stop you approaching a larger organization. If you go to networking events, which you probably have to if you're a startup, and will benefit from that, talk to people. And if there's someone there who seems to have a very good business operation, well, why don't you ask them if they'd be interested in being a shareholder in your business? Would they like, in return for some shares? Because let's face it, as a startup, your shares to you, there's no great value yet.
No.
But if you get someone interested in buying some shares in your business, you could be the next Google, you could be the next LinkedIn. They would have gone through the same process as us, Stephen. They would have started off probably with flippant halfpenny, and nothing more than that, 2 pennies to rub together, until they managed to have a lucky break, right place, right time. And look at them now, massive global successes.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Your last point, talking about the shareholders, and because we don't really think about that as a startup. Like, I don't think we do it enough in the UK. In the US, it's very different. As I said, I think the seed funding is a very big industry. And it's really good that you point out, locally, where someone like myself in Eastbourne could get, or if you're in London, councils do offer that. But I think it's about us as entrepreneurs thinking, right, okay, I don't have a lot of funding, but how can what's the business case here? How can I encourage someone to invest maybe in me, or what can I put on the table? And I think that's about curiosity and emotional intelligence skills. So I think that's really important. Tim, I can't thank you enough, because I've learned a few things today. You've been educational for me as a startup, sort of like in the entrepreneur world. I know you bring a lot of experience to the table with your company, and I really want to thank you for this interview. And I know that this going out on LinkedIn, when it does go out, will help a lot of entrepreneurs. I want to thank you again for your time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed that first episode of Entrepreneurship on LinkedIn Startups. It was a really good conversation I had there. Really enjoyed that. And if you do want to come on the show, become a guest, whether you're local in Eastbourne or globally, you've got a business, you've established it for a number of years, and you want to really give some help and support to other budding entrepreneurs by just coming on the show and me asking you some similar questions around best advice for a startup business. The pandemic is here. We know that we're third year into the running, as I said in the show, but I really think that it's important that we do help and support each other as business owners. Myself, as you know, I'm a global thought leader, but I've only got a small startup, and I'm growing that, and I'm serving my client, and I want to get more clients. But if we come together and help one another, which is very good as well for leadership, I think we can help many businesses. So please do direct message me on LinkedIn if you want to come on the show. I'd love to have you on if you're an entrepreneur. If you've got a business, please do direct message me. Let's work together. Let's help each other. Thank you for watching, and hope you have a good day. Bye for now.